Fatima Wafa M, and I'm the second reporter of the Reasoning Immediate Inference.
So, the induction is formulation of a new proposition by the interchange of the subject and the predicate of an original proposition and or by the use or remove of negatives.
So, ang number 1 ay ang conversion, means that you are creating a new subject or a new proposition in a way na gina-interchange mo yung mga words doon. However, kailangan yung pag-interchange mo is remain. Kumbaga, yung mga words doon is hindi nawawala. Walang pinagbago, walang binabago. So, as you can see naman sa binigay na example in the first sentence, which is the converted. New Democrat is a Republican. While the second sentence is converse, New Republican is a Democrat. So, pansin naman natin dito sa first sentence ng example, ang New Democrat is a Republican. So, ang subject dito is yung New Democrat, while the predicate is yung Republican. So, dito naman tayo sa pangalawang example sa second sentence. So, ang Republican dito, ang subject dito is yung Democrat. So, while the predicate is yung no Republican. So, we have two kinds of conversion, which is the simple conversion and partial conversion. Number 1 is the simple conversion. Simple conversion ay pinag-uusapan dito ay about quantity of converted. So, kapag po universal, yung converted mo is dapat pag in-interchange mo to converse, it should remain as a universal. Same with the particular. So, kailangan yung converse mo is pag in-interchange mo siya, ay dapat mag-remain as a particular. So, we have two kinds of conversion, which is the simple conversion and partial conversion. Number 1 is the simple conversion. Simple conversion ay pinag-uusapan dito ay about quantity of converted. So, kapag po universal, yung converted mo is dapat pag in-interchange mo to converse, it should remain as a universal. Same with the particular. So, kailangan yung converse mo is pag in-interchange mo siya, ay dapat mag-remain as a particular. So, 4 types of categorical proposition, which is the A, E, I, and Q. So, only E and I, a preposition, can be formulated by simple conversion. So, example dito ay, no men are mortals. No mortals are men. So, ang quantity ng subject ng predicate is still there. Same din sa example number 2. Some mortals are men. When it is converting to simple conversion, some men are mortals. So, the quantity of the preposition is still remain. So, an A preposition cannot be converted kasi kapag po i-convert yung A preposition to simple conversion is the quantity or the number of subject in the predicate will be changed. So, one of the rule of conversion is to remain the meaning of the converted, even though it interchanges to converse. Kaya ang A preposition is cannot be formulated to simple conversion. Kasi po, may iba yung meaning. Hindi ma-retain ang meaning ng converted to converse. So, the example here is that all dogs are animals. All animals are dog. So, ang subject sa all dogs are animals ay yung all dogs, while the animals is predicate of the sentence. So, kapag naman formulated siya to in a simple conversion is nagiging all animals are dog. So, parang hindi na-retain yung meaning of the sentence or the converted. Kasi, pansin naman natin in the first sentence is all dogs are animals, which means is lahat ng aso ay hayop. On the other hand is all animals are dog. So, means ay hindi naman lahat ng hayop ay aso. So, moreover, just like the A preposition cannot be converted in the simple conversion. Why? It is because if the universal predicate will be converted into simple conversion, it can result to a negative propositions. So, ang example naman dito ay ang some bird are not animals. So, some bird is represent as a subject of universal. So, ang animals is predicate universal. So, kapag na-convert na siya to simple conversion, some animals are bird. So, ang some animals is subject universal, while the birds is predicate universal. So, hindi siya na-retain again ang meaning ng sentence. Partial conversion is a part of conversion. It's a type of conversion. So, partial conversions is the quantity or the number of the subject in the predicate can be reduced into particular. If the subject in the predicate is universal, it can be converted to a particular. Number 2 is oversion. This is a kind of reduction in which is a new proposition is formulated by retaining the proposition of the subject and predicate terms of the quantity of the original proposition. Contraposition is, in the principle, contraposition is a product of both conversion and obversion. Thus, like conversation, contraposition involves an interchange of the subject and predicate terms. In like oversion, it involves either the use or removal of negatives which affects the copula in the terms.
Good day everyone, I am Elham Ismail, the fourth reporter of Module 4. So summary of the rules of education. So here are the summary of the rules of education. The first one is the rules of conversion. A. Interchange the subject and the predicate terms. So, you have to interchange or pagpapalitin mo ang subject at predicate terms. That is number 1 rule of conversion. And B. Retain the quality of the converted in the converse. So, panatilihin mo yung quality or kung paano nagiging mas makabuluhan ang converted in the converse. Then letter C, do not extend any term of the converted in the converse in simple conversion from particular to universal and vice versa. Thus, in simple conversion, the quality of the terms in the converted should be maintained in the converse. So, only propositions A to A and I to I, quality of simple conversion. So, wag nang palawakin or i-extend pa ang terms na gagamitin sa subject at predicate because it should be maintained. You can use A to A and I to I in a simple conversion. Then letter D, reduce the quantity of the converted in the converse in partial conversion. So, only the following types of categorical proposition quality for a partial conversion. So, bawasan yung dami or quantity ng conversion but instead panatilihin ang quality to be more realistic. Then number 2, the rules of aversion. A. Retain the position of the subject in the predicate. So, hindi na kailangan pang palitan ang subject at predicate. You have to retain how it should be unlike sa conversion. Then, letter B, retain the quality of the overturned and the overs. So, just retain the quality of the overturned in the overs to look good. Then, letter C, change the quality of the overturned in the overs. So you have to change the quality of the overturned in the overs. Then letter D, the predicate term of the overturned should be changed should be changed to its contradictory in a verse. So the predicate term of the tense should be changed to its contradictory in a verse, so that sentence must be clear and identified. And then number 3 is the rules of contraposition. A. Simple partial contraposition. The subject term of the contraposition is the contradictory of the predicate term in the contraponent. The quality of the contraponent is change and the contraposition. The predicate term of the contraposition is the subject term and contraponent. So, kung ano yung subject term na ginamit sa contraposition ay yung magiging kasalungat ng predicate term. And yung quality ng contraponent ay pinapalitan sa contraposition. Kung ano yung predicate term ay yung magiging subject term ng contraposition. And then, logical opposition. So, sa logical opposition ay nag-i-exist kapag ang dalawang opposition ay nagkakapareho ang subject at predicate terms pero magkaiba ng quality and quantity. Like for example, all Filipinos are Asian, no German are Romans. So, ang subject term dyan sa dalawang sentence ay Filipino at German, while ang predicate is Asians at Romans. Since hindi pareho ang subject at predicate ay hindi yan matatawag na opposition. And another example is all Filipinos are Asians. So, no Filipinos are Asians. So, as you can see, pareho sila ng subject at predicate. Kaya matatawag itong opposition. Their opposition is caused by the difference in terms of quantity, being a universal or particular. That's all. Thank you.
Good day, I'm Hapsa Mangdal from Social Worker 1B. I am the last reporter of Module 6, Reasoning Immediately in Inferences. My topic is all about the 4 types of opposition, namely contradictory, contrariety, subcontrariety, and subalternation or subalternity. These 4 compress the square of opposition, or what logicians commonly call the logical square. Number 1. Contradictory opposition. This is an opposition existing between a pair of propositions having the same subject and predicate term but differing in both quantity and quality. Ito ay isang opposition na nag-i-exist sa dalawang pairs ng mga proposition na may parehong subject and predicate pero magkaiba ng quantity and quality. In the illustration of the square of opposition, the following propositions are contradictories A and O and E and I. This is the 2 pair of proposition, the universal affirmative A, particular negative O, and universal negative E, particular affirmative I. Thus, the proposition all men are mortal, for example, in the contradictory of some men are not mortal and vice versa, and no man is mortal. In the contradictory of the proposition some men are mortal and vice versa. In the other contradictory opposition, the one proposition simplify denying the other proposition. This means that contradictories cannot be both true or false at the same time. The following are the rules governing contradictories. Letter A. If one of the 2 contradictories is true, the other is false. At ang kabaliktaran nito ay letter B. Contradictories cannot be simultaneous true or false. Ibig sabihin ay hindi sila pwedeng maging sabay na tama o mali. For the foregoing rules and the following conclusion can be drawn. Letter A. If A is true, O is false. Letter B. If E is true, less is false. Letter C. If this is true, E is false. Letter D. If O is true, A is false. Number 2, contrary opposition or contrariety. This is an opposition existing between a pair of universal propositions having the same subject and predicate term but differing in quality, like A is affirmative while E is negative. So the proposition all men are mortal, in the contrary of the proposition no man is mortal, and vice versa. Ito ay isang pares ng contrary at ito ay E at E. At this pair is only quality. This is both universal proposition, pero ang isa ay affirmative at ang isa naman ay negative. The following are the rules governing contrariety. Letter A, if one of the contraries is true, the other is false. Letter B, if one of the contraries is false, the other is doubtful. It means it's either true or false. Based on the foregoing rules can be following conclusion. Based on the foregoing rules, the following conclusion can be drawn. Letter A, if A is true, E is false. If E is true, A is false. Letter C, if A is false, E is doubtful. It means it's either true or false. Letter D, if E is false, A is doubtful. It's either again true or false. Number 3, subcontrary opposition. This is an opposition existing between a pair of particular proposition having the same subject and predicate term but differing in quality. And this is the opposition of pagsalungat sa pagitan ng isa pares that same in predicate pero magkaiba ng quality. With this definition, it is clear that I and O proposition are subcontraries. This is because both I and O proposition are particular but differ in quality. I is affirmative while O is negative. Thus, the proposition some men are mortal in the subcontrary of the proposition some men are not mortal and vice versa. The following are the rules governing subcontraries. Letter A, if one of the subcontraries is true, the other is doubtful. It's either true or false. Letter B, if one of the subcontraries is false, the other is true. Based on the foregoing rules, the following conclusion can be drawn. Letter A, if I is true, O is doubtful. It means it's either true or false. Letter B, if O is true, I is doubtful. It's either again true or false. Letter C, if I is false, O is true. Letter D, if O is false, I is true. Number 4, the subaltern opposition. This is an opposition existing between a pair of propositions having the same subject and predicate terms and the same quality, but differing in quantity. According to the square of proposition, the following propositions belong to subaltern A and I and E and O. For purposes of distinction, the universal propositions A and E are called subaltern superior, while the particular propositions I and O are called subaltern. Therefore, based on the square of opposition, the proposition all men are mortal is the subalternant of the subalternate proposition some men are mortal, and vice versa. Also, the proposition no man is mortal is the subalternant of the subalternate propositions, some men are not mortal, and vice versa. The following are the rules governing subalternation. A. If the universal is true, the particular is true. This means that the truth of the universal involves the truth of particular. Letter B. If the universal is false, the particular is doubtful. It means that the falsity of the universal does not involve the falsity of the particular. Letter C. If the particular is true, the universal is doubtful. This means that the truth of the particular does not involve the truth of the universal. Letter D. If the particular is false, the universal is false. This means the following falsity of the particular involves the falsity of the others because they are both false. Based on the few stated rules, the following conclusion can be drawn. Letter A, if A is true, I is true. Letter B, if A is false, I is doubtful, it's either true or false. Letter C, if E is true, O is true. Letter D, if E is false, O is doubtful, it's either again true or false. Letter E, if I is true, A is doubtful. Letter F, if I is false, A is false. Letter G, if O is true, E is doubtful. Letter H, if O is false, E is doubtful.